Right, so welcome to growing your own in small spaces. So the first thing you need to do is decide what you want to grow. So it really depends, first of all, on how much sunlight you get, but it's really important to pick something you like to eat or look at, because I have the perfect circumstances to grow kale, yet I really don't like kale. I think it's a terrible vegetable and it should never have been invented. But I know there's some healthy people out there who like that kind of thing. So I suppose I'll just leave them to their own devices. So very much grow what you like. You want to get things that are easy to obtain and easy to look after. So easy to obtain, you want something that is reasonably affordable, especially if you're just beginning, because you're making mistakes and you don't want to kill this really expensive tree unless you have money to burn. Then you do you. That's fine with me. So the photos here are it's a type of aubergine, the original eggplant, as you can see. I failed with that one, but we'll get to that later on. The second one is stevia, or sweet leaf. It does have really sweet leaves if given enough sunlight. I've grown that really successfully, and I've used it to make some things, but we'll get to that later. And the third one you can see that is physalis. It gets these orange sticky berries in a sort of a papery husk. You might have seen them in the supermarket, but they are surprisingly easy to grow. So yeah, they're just things that I like. Pick what you like, I'd say. So I have two balconies. One of them is extremely sunny. That might keep happening. And it's west facing. It has sunlight from about 1 o'clock until sort of 7 p.m. at the height of summer. And the other balcony is east facing, and it has slightly less light. It starts early in the morning, but then there's only direct sunlight until about 1 o'clock. So that means that on the shady balcony, I can grow a lot of leafy vegetables. So you can see lettuce over there. There's some hosta. There's a clematis over there. We'll get to close up for you, don't worry. And that is a load of chilies and some tomatoes there as well. So the benefit of that is because it doesn't get that burning sunlight, I don't have to water it as often, and it's a little bit more easy care. The other side is, as you can see, this is a lot of cactuses. This is because, I'll get to that later on as well, I've tried and I failed, and the only thing I can grow chilies there, and that's pretty much it. Everything else I have definitely killed. So killing is something you learn from. That's why it's important to know which way you're facing and know your sunlight. So when you've got your light levels, you know what you want to grow. The soil is the next really important thing. If it's just sandy and there's not much to it, you can't really grow anything because there's no nutrients in the soil. So we do have a compost heap at the cemetery park. We only use it though for to put our own green waste there. So please don't add to it, but you are very welcome to take from it. Obviously, you can't bring in a car at the moment. And also, if you live too far away, lots of local garden centres at the moment, they do delivery. So just have a Google and see what you can order is what I recommend. If you already have soil in pots, rather than you carrying it all the way up to the 10th floor, I would highly recommend you get some chicken manure pellets. They come in big buckets. They're fairly affordable. I think it's sort of maybe £3 for a litre of it, and it will really get you really just top it up, and very quickly your soil will become fertile again. And then finally, I would say I have quite a bit of green waste from dead plants and things at the end of the year. So what I often do, especially with my bigger containers, I just put a layer of that green waste at the bottom of my pots and just put fresh soil or refresh soil on top of that. This is containers. You can spend a lot of money on your containers. I wouldn't recommend you do that, but it's entirely up to you. The size of your container really depends on what you want to grow. So chilies will grow about as high as the width of the pot. So you want to start small, but you can build that up. Some things really don't need much space at all. There's a lot of the leafy vegetables that don't need to have don't have long roots at all. I quite like recyclable containers. So you can, there's some people who grow tomatoes in bags for life. That's super effective. Not tomatoes as well, but potatoes especially, because potatoes at the end of the year, you just tip out the bag, you have a load of potatoes and you're done. But there's, recyclable containers. You could just use yogurt pots like these ones. They have an instant tiny greenhouse. These are especially good for small plants. So I've been known to grow smaller chilies and tomatoes in there. You will want to eventually pot them up, but they work fine in the meantime. If you need something to stay fairly warm and it's cold outside, a bit of polystyrene works really well. And I would also say sort of takeaway containers make great mini greenhouses. So I've got some tomato seeds in here. And yeah, they do fine. Sort of wait until they start germinating, you put them in a pot and you're done. Yeah, this is, do it on the cheap is what I'd recommend. The big problem I find with gardening on a balcony is that the watering and drainage. So you want to line pots with something that holds onto water. For example, newspaper, or you sometimes get with some deliveries, you get wool to insulate things. That works really well as well. Just the watering, everything dries out really, really, really quickly, and this is how I kill most of my plants. Anyway, so yeah, just keep a lid on things, as I've done here on my windowsill. Yes, this is my bedroom. It's full. I have regrets, but we'll get to that later. So just put a lid on it. It stops the water from evaporating. It goes straight back down onto the soil. So it makes things a lot easier for yourself. You also want to make sure you're not overwatering things. So best thing to do is stick a finger in the soil. If it's moist, then you don't really need to water it. Obviously, if it's really wet, you need to not water it for a good while. But if it's dry, then it's about time to water. So if you can't have a container with a little hole at the bottom, with recyclable containers, you just, use a sharp object of some sort and stab it. Then I'd recommend you put some stones or grit at the bottom, so the roots can just, won't get stuck in the wetness, and there's a little bit of air still down there. So there is a risk of overcrowding. I may come to learn this soon enough. I made this container a few weeks ago with some lovely recycled wood from the cemetery park and a bit of pond liner. So there is clematis growing there, so that you can't eat those. There's some peas that are popping out just about now. I took this a few hours ago. And there's some beans at the back as well. Hopefully they'll all climb up there. There's some hostas. Hostas are often grown as ornamentals, but if you sort of saute them a bit, they taste quite nice and like asparagus. Some onions, a tomato, pak choy, lettuces, radishes over here. I may live to regret this and have to remove some things. So please try not to follow my example on this one, or maybe it will work out really well. We'll see. I am still definitely learning. So one of the benefits of living a bit higher up, so I'm on the first floor, and slugs don't travel upwards really, so I don't have any slugs in my balcony gardens, and I love it. I still do have snails, but there's less of them, and they are slightly less sneaky because the shell makes them stand out a bit more. So I just pick those off and gently throw them in a shrub a bit further away. You may, if you live higher up than the first floor, you may just want to, collect them and deposit them somewhere a bit more in a friendly way. So alternatively, you can put down a beer trap, which is just, it means that they drown in beer, which is, I suppose, a very happy death. But it's, snails are very much useful in our ecosystem. So just carry them down, put them in a, somewhere, doesn't matter, just away from your balcony. And then finally, sort of not quite finally, but aphids. Aphids they really like sucking the life out of fresh young shoots. I can't really find a way to get rid of them. Apparently ladybirds help, but I don't get a lot of ladybirds on my balcony. So apparently you're supposed to squish them. I always feel really awkward about that. I have no good solution for them. I've tried mixing detergent with water and washing them down, but it's just a matter of waiting, I feel. And finally, the wind with balcony growing is a major issue. I have lost plants. We'll get to that in a bit, but what I would recommend is, especially with the plastic containers, just tying things down, putting cable ties onto things if you can. Just, yeah, that's all I can do. Obviously, there are some plants that are more resistant to wind than others as well. So you may want to look, don't put your freshest, nicest little seedlings out in the full gale. They are not going to enjoy that. You want to keep those nice and sheltered. All right, when you're growing on your plants a bit, you may need to feed your babies. So the thing with growing in pots is that you're the one providing all the nutrients and water. So you need to keep an eye on the leaves. If they are discoloring or just sort of the growth is a bit weird, it's often because they've run out of their nutrients. So you need to add fertilizer because nature won't. So one of the things you can do is make stinging nettle tea. So what you do is you collect stinging nettles. You might want to wear gloves for that. You put them in a bucket or in a bottle like this one if you don't need a lot, which you probably don't. I know it looks a bit grim. I used this last year. So you need about 3, maybe 4 stinging nettles for this. You just strip them off the leaves. So you sort of push in the whole plant and then pull out the stems so the leaves stay in there. Add some water, leave it in the sun for a couple of weeks, and you've got great fertilizer. Alternatively, you can just buy things from the shop. There's some liquid fertilizer, nice and a little bit dirty. It's been outside all year. Just mix it with water. Make sure you get the balance right, and that should hopefully sort out your plants. Again, you can also, if you've still got those chicken manure pellets that you bought earlier to freshen up your soil, that might be really useful as well. There's some plants I killed. Yeah, that was the wind. The winds blew it all over. There goes my chili. I think it mostly survived, but yeah, obviously I've lost some fruits there. There's some thistles. I have broken many pots. I don't even bother really with this nice ceramic pots. It's not, they're too expensive. I can't be doing that. And there's a pea. I don't think I got the roots. I think I disturbed the roots or didn't add the right nutrients. And there's only one pea in that entire shell, but I learned a lesson. And there's some strawberries. I planted those on my very dry balcony. Now we're getting back to the cactuses here. They grew some fruits. Then I forgot to water them while I went on holiday, and all the plants died. So now I grow cactuses. They survive very well. Here's some plants I'm good at. This is the good thing. So that's a physalis. It's got a lovely papery husk and the orange berry inside. Sort of, if you're not eating them, they sort of taste a little bit of pineapple-y, I'd say. I think they're very nice. And here's a little stevia flower. I'm glad I cleaned my nails there. So yeah, stevia does really well, and combined with the chilies over here, I've made some lovely sweet chili sauce. So yeah, didn't need any sweetener, just the two of them with a little bit of water. It was really nice. So I grew about 1 or 2 varieties of chili in the last few years, but this year I'm growing 7 different ones, which is a bit more than usual. I'll see how I'm coping with that.